Welcome to the milk bar. 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 Welcome to the milk bar.
Welcome along to episode 624 of The Milk Bar. Jason Forrest here with you as ever. And coming up on the show this week, we'll be finding out all about the Spotlight magazine from Wolverhampton's Grand Theatre. I actually nipped into the Grand to have a natter with Scott Bird, and we've had a brilliant catch-up. It was lovely to see him again, and I'm so looking forward to getting back into the theatre. There's some awesome shows on the way. We'll tell you more about that and talk you through the magazine, including the brilliant interviews that they've got in there too, so that's well worth a look. Duane AJ will be with us. He has got some new music, so we'll be sharing that and having a natter with him about him being back on the road. We've got James Morris from Strawberry Moon Records. They have got a fantastic new partner who they'll be working with to help promote even more acts, so we'll be finding out about that. And of course James is DJing, which you can go along and see in Bridge North. Plus, we'll be hearing from Axiom, finding out about their music and their latest album release. We'll be talking to Heather Wastie of Alarum Productions all about what's going on with their podcast release of A Walk Along Dudley's Canal No. 2, which is going to be well worth a listen with some fantastic social history and so much more besides, so we'll do that. We'll be joined by Martin Kemp to talk about how to avoid financial fraud, and we'll have Briony, a semi-finalist on the Great British Bake Off, chatting about neighbourliness and the way it's carried over from lockdown. That's all well worth a look. That's all coming up on the show this week. Wolverhampton's Grand Theatre will be back welcoming people into the stalls, the dress circle and the grand circle in the not too distant future. However, to find out what's going to go on, they have a brand new magazine. It is called Spotlight. It is out now, and Scott Bird's here to tell me all about it. Hello, sir.
Hello, how are you?
I'm all right.
Welcome back.
I know, so nice to actually see you again.
Yeah.
We've had a few Zoom calls.
We have.
But it has just been such a strange time, and the theatre has been dark across the nation, and obviously the Grand has had plenty of things sort of ticking along in the background just to make sure everybody's been occupied. But when we've spoken to Adrian, I know he's keen to get back and get producing again. And obviously one of the last productions here just before everything went dark was the History Boys, and the Grand is now the place that produces fresh theatre in the city, and it must be something you're so looking forward to getting back to doing.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, thank goodness we did History Boys when we did.
Yeah.
Because you know how much effort it... I mean, every show takes so much effort, and for the theatre to put up so much of its own money and everything to put towards that production, the fact that we actually got to see it through is a real... blessing. But actually just to be back, it's not totally theatrical at the minute, but just to be back in the building and actually be here is just a blessing in itself for now until we can get open again. Well,
I mean, there is work being done on the building as well, and that's ongoing. This is the corner we can use safely at the moment, but so that it's all about being refreshed and ready to go, and certainly Spotlight is a brilliant refresher of the way in which you're talking to the world, and something on paper. And I think theatre audiences not only love programmes, but they also love a good brochure.
Yeah, they do. And it was a decision that we'd taken quite a long time ago. Can't actually remember when now, because of course it seems like forever ago. But we'd actually got the first edition of Spotlight ready to go, ready to print, just before we locked down. So it was all there, it was all ready to go, and it's a good job we didn't press the button, because of course that would have all gone to waste, sadly. But it's nice to actually have it here now. It actually to actually look
real life on paper. And there are interviews aplenty. There's first of all, I mean, you start off with some brilliant community work and some of the things that you've been doing since lockdown began. And I'm liking the fact there's a lot of good familiar local faces in there. Beth Baddick Lowe, you've got Peter Chand, and Beverly Knight as well.
Who popped in to see us. It was really, really nice. And one of the things that we wanted to do with the new brochure is make it more like a magazine. And actually we haven't sat still in the last year. As you said, there's a lot to write about, so actually this new format came in really handy to just open up to what we did back in March, when we were blessed really to be the theatre that was chosen to launch the second round of the Culture Recovery Fund from the Department of Culture, Media, Sport. So yeah, we were grateful to have Oliver Dowden come here and launch that. And that's what that's all about, from an introduction from Adrian there.
And people can actually pick up a copy of this, read it, and it is free of charge as well, isn't it?
Free of charge, yeah.
So that is the first thing to pick up on. But I mean, it goes through a reflection on the year. I get pictures from 6 of that, which was the last show before everything locked down. And the other thing it was, I mean, on the Gloria Estefan musical was in the building, ready to go, and we just couldn't legally.
It was so sad because I'd seen the show at Curve where it opened, and you saw it in Birmingham too, and you know how much of a brilliant show it was, and we were so looking forward to having it here for the first time, and the set was built, everything was ready to go, but I've never quite seen a Get In turn into a Get Out. And take the set down before it had even been performed, and of course the cast were all here, and many of them, it was an international cast, and many of them had to try and get flights home to their home countries, and it was just really sad.
But we'll start to see these things coming back, and pretty much everything that was due to come is still trying to find its feet, and there are shows which were going to come through in the latter part of 2021 anyway, which are sort of starting to appear. So there'll be new shows, but they're the new shows which you would probably have seen anyway.
I think we've probably lost about 2 or 3, which is really sad, but of course the majority of it, 99% of the shows, have managed to find life elsewhere in the season. So some of this in the new brochure will not be, it'll be familiar, it won't come as a surprise, but then others will, we've got a really nice new season, so should we dive in?
Well, I mean, there's lots to look at. I mean, I'm going to flick straight through to Jane McDonald, because she's here in July, and always brings a huge audience with her, and that's, again, a fantastic show. It's all about the music, and she's been on telly so much of late. Everybody knows what she does, and they can just enjoy the moment.
Yeah, I mean, Jane McDonald has always been so popular here, always done well, but especially since the cruising show, which is just total escapism and fun, and everybody's just got to see the Jane, that she is, and she's such a lovable personality. It's just infectious, and it sells out every time, and everybody has a great time.
So that's going to be a good one there. So make sure that's Saturday, the 10th of July, 7:30. And
few tickets remaining for that. So get in quick if you're going to.
Absolutely. So what else is standing out for you? Because there's so many shows in here. Francis Rossi, Adam Kay, the Glenn Miller Orchestra, just flicking through. So there's
tribute to Talia 90. With, the team of
Steve Bull feature. There's a Steve Bull feature.
Yes. Paul Gascoigne, Peter Shields and Paul Parker, Dave Pleasant, they're all going to be here. Again, that was going to be a year ago. And
I've done so many interviews on that show, and each time it's moved.
It's still happening.
We'll dig Bully out again for that one.
But then the first big show back really is School of Rock, which is totally new, and has always sat in these dates. I think we always intended it to be in September this year, I think. But it's here, and it's exciting, and I think we're the 2nd or 3rd venue on the tour, so you're not going to see this many other places before you see it here.
And this is the place to see any show anyway, isn't it? So, not that we're biased, but we're biased. But I would say you've got a piece with the Associate Director, Chris Key, in there.
Yes.
And again, this gives you the background to the way the show is coming together on the tour. And of course, they can reflect on what they've been through to get to this point. Yeah. But
I mean, I Zoomed Chris Key for this interview, and he said, it's going to have to be an early morning if that's okay. And I was like, yeah, that's absolutely fine. And then when I looked out of the window behind Chris, I thought, those buildings aren't in London. I thought, I don't think those buildings are in this country actually. And he was over in Tokyo.
Wow.
Because he was working on Les Mis in Tokyo, so he was over there because of course their theatres have been open for a little bit of time.
Yeah.
So he was working on Les Mis, but that just shows you the sort of calibre of shows that Chris works on. He was born in Bewdley, so he's a local guy, and he's worked on Miss Saigon. He's worked on Les Mis for all these big productions all over the world.
Full details on your copy of Spotlight.
Yeah, and now School of Rock is his latest project, which he worked on in the West End, and when he comes back from Tokyo, he's going to be full steam ahead with School of Rock to get it open in Wolverhampton.
And new dates for everybody's talking about Jamie.
Yes.
So it's now October. It's the 5th to the 9th of October, 2021. And again, that's one that we missed out on last summer. And I was so looking forward to this show.
Yeah.
And it's great that so many of the cast are still able to tour with it as well, because this is some of the problems, because people are in contracts for other things, which are, as like School of Rock, due to take place when they're due to take place. So it's been a little bit difficult for the musical theatre world. It's gone from nothing to everything all at the same time.
So people have had to pick and choose, but we're really fortunate that both Leighton Williams as Jamie and Shane Ritchie as Hugo and Loco are back. And since we printed the brochure, we've also confirmed that Shubna Gulati is back in it as well as Ray the neighbour. So we're really pleased that everyone is in it. And
that's all good.
So.
And more background there. So there's a piece on that in there to read too.
That's an interview with Nika, who's the producer, and how she bought it from a 2-week run in Sheffield, and that was going to be it to this West End show, touring show, and now a film that comes out later in the year on Amazon, I think.
So it's gone big.
Yeah.
And then there's some nice pieces on VIP treatments, and you get to understand what the Grand's doing. And so a list of one-nighters again, because there's been some so classy one-night shows, and that continues. And just looking at, but you got Rod Gilbert doing his comedy thing. 80s Mania, saw them here a couple of years ago. Absolutely awesome, just brilliant feel-good music. And from Scary Long Ago, you weren't even born in the 80s, right? No. That's it. It's going to be well worth looking at. It's music from your parents' era.
Yeah. Which is really exciting, and like you say, all of this page is all music acts as well. We've got a really nice mix of the actual music acts themselves and tribute acts for some of those who aren't with us anymore. Like the greatest love of all is she probably is the Whitney.
The one to see, isn't it?
Yeah. So we're really excited to have those back, and of course, like the comedians, we're doing really well with our comedians. We've got
everyone needs a bit of cheering up, though, don't they?
Yes.
So it's going to help. And then Hairspray is back, 19th to the 23rd of October, and again, one of the most amazing feel-good shows with a serious message behind it as well, but a message which just leaves you feeling so good.
Yeah, I think particularly after the year that we've been through, I think this absolutely hits everything on the head that we've talked about and discussed and wanted to celebrate in the last year. So it's really exciting to have Hairspray back. And of course with Brenda Edwards, who was here with it last time, but I don't think there are many other people you want to watch as Motormouth Maybelle, because Brenda is just phenomenal.
No one else would want to do it after she's done it, because she is just so...
The voice.
Just amazing.
Yeah.
And it's part of bringing that fantastic show to life, isn't it?
Yeah,
so
we're
absolutely
really
the star. And then Chicago, end of October, and sort of sultry, sexy, shocking, and lots of more things beginning with S that are all wonderful superlatives.
Just the iconic musical, really. I mean, we've had Chicago before, of course, but people come to see it again and again and again, and every time it has a really different, exciting cast, and this year is no different. It's the first time that we'll have Faye Brooks. It's the first time she'll have performed here, so she's, again, I did this chat with her, and she's really excited to get to Wolverhampton. But then we've got music legend Sunita.
I know.
Which is just incredible. And then Davina De Campo from RuPaul's Drag Race. Like, there is literally something for everyone in this show. And then even in Jalenga and Joel, we've got really, really talented musical theatre performers who are at the top of their game. So we're really excited. Yeah,
that is going to be awesome. And it's the chance for the amateur theatre groups from across the city and beyond to come back. Bilson Operatic, Oliver, that's going to be, again, it's such a popular show. That's going to be absolutely fantastic to see them. They've got a week's run.
This will be the most rehearsed show. Because I think they started rehearsing for this and auditioning for this ages ago, well before we locked down. So you know that this is going to be a polished performance.
Absolutely, and there is just so much more. And there's more little shows. You'll get on Grown Ups, aren't you?
Grown Ups from the creators of The Play That Goes Wrong. So we've obviously had them here before, but this is the first time they're going to bring this. So again, really exciting premise.
I'm just excited about getting to Panto because you've got these two.
Yeah.
Explain.
AJ and Curtis Pritchard. No, we're really excited. So, of course, we announced Cinderella way back in 2019 to be the 2020 pantomime.
It seems like just 5 minutes ago, but also a lifetime ago at the same time.
Of course, it wasn't cast then either. So by the time we sort of had to pause it, we hadn't been cast. And then, I came back to work, and there were these rumours of who it might be, and we were really excited to not just get one of them, but both of them. So AJ is going to play the Prince. And Curtis is going to play Dandini. So, of course, since AJ left Strictly, they've sort of become a brotherly double act, doing lots of things together. So we wanted to keep that, and they're going to be a sort of a dancing double act.
And that takes us into next year.
It does.
And would you hit next year? You've got things like 90s Live, you've got a fantastic tribute to George Michael in there. Russell Watson will be here.
Yeah.
A gala with the Viennese Strauss Orchestra.
Yeah.
There's just so much ahead. I don't want to spoil it is almost spoilers telling you what's in here, but you want to get yourself a copy of Spotlight and read through it and check what's there. And try and get to as many shows as you can.
Yes.
And I think people are going to be a little bit wary about going back out again.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're already COVID secure here, and you're working
from the council.
Working as you are at the minute, and that will then reflect in what you're doing when there are audience members in, because you've actually been playing host to people during lockdown as well, because you've had NHS events in the theatre and allowed them to have a good socially distanced venue that is just made for any type of speaking. They didn't do many musical numbers, did they?
No, although somebody played the violin.
So there you go.
We've got a musical doctor, so he played the violin.
I think it'd be rock. If you've got that stage out there, you absolutely would have to, wouldn't you, really?
Yeah.
But it is just the start of things being back to at least a near normal to start off with, and just some amazing shows. And
then because the brochure would have been too big, Jason, we've just literally filled the back page with everything else that's coming.
So check it all out.
That will be featured more heavily in a new brochure, but we just couldn't fit it all in.
With interviews and all sorts.
We're well into 2023 in this brochure.
Yeah, so teasing what's coming up.
Yeah, so we're sort of talking, 2 years ahead. We've got everything planned. So.
Yeah, but I mean that is the plan. That is the way things will be back. You can come down and enjoy Wolverhampton's Grand Theatre, grandtheatre.co.uk. Check out everything else on there, but get the Spotlight magazine, because you can read up on what's coming up there, and also you can give the box office a shout 01902 429212. It's been so long since I've said that.
Yes,
and have a chat with them.
Yes, our box office is open from 4 till 6 at the moment.
Yeah,
and hopefully as we get more open, we'll be able to extend those. But yeah, Monday to Friday, 4 till 6, the box office. So
01902 429212, and get yourself along to the theatre that is the heart of the city, and enjoy some amazing shows as we head through the latter part of 2021 and beyond.
And just get online, grandtheatre.co.uk, and you can book whenever. Yeah,
simple as that. Well, Scott, always good to catch up with you. Thank you for letting me into the building.
That's all right.
And lateral flow tests sorted. That's all good. But thank you again, and look forward to seeing you for a show in the not too distant future.
Yeah.
Duane AJ has some brand new music out there in his own right, as well as the collaborations he's up to too. And as we speak, he's about to head off on the road for yet another gig. This is quite exciting. He joins me now for a chat. Hello, sir.
Hi, are you all right?
I'm good. I hope we find you well. Is everything good?
Yeah, really good, thank you. Yeah, back to being busy again, so all good.
Well, I mean, I know that's quite exciting, and the clock behind you gives away the time, and we're not talking in the evening. It is currently just before 8 o'clock on a Sunday morning as we talk. And this is great because it means you've got festivals and the like taking place, and you're able to get out there and gig, so that must be good in itself.
Yeah, definitely. I'm so glad to be back on the road performing and doing what I love doing. So like I was out last night and I think the night before, and today I'm going to a recording studio in Bristol, so I'm up and raring to go.
You're up and there, which is a start, I suppose. So that's
exactly
good. But the recording studio takes you away from the sunshine. I know you've been doing some fun stuff on outdoor stages, and that's all been good. But when it comes to releasing music, you must have had a great time putting all this together, and of course with the video work too.
Yeah. It's been a long sort of journey with this particular song. And yeah, obviously with the weather being hit and miss at the minute, we've only now really got around to putting it together,
Mm-hmm. Oh, well, the track Set Me Free, I mean, is there a clue in the title there, is the fact that you're glad to be able to get out again?
It's basically a song for everyone really who wants to interpret it into however they like, whether that being stuck in lockdown or, had a bad relationship, basically everyone's got something, everyone's got bars up in a way that we all need to be set free. For me personally, this one was about a bad relationship, quite an abusive relationship I had a few years back, and this song for me is all about that. But like I said, everyone can interpret it however they like.
So yeah, whatever it means to you. But it doesn't stop it being a fantastic upbeat song as well.
Oh, I had so much fun. Basically, the producer is Simon Ellis. He's a Brit Award winner, and he's written songs like for S Club 7. He actually wrote "Don't Stop Moving," and won a Brit Award for that song. So while he was in lockdown, he started reaching out to work with lots of different unsigned artists. So when I seen he was looking and advertising, I obviously jumped at the chance. It was always a dream of mine.
Well, absolutely fantastic to work with somebody like that and to be able to produce music in a way which is hopefully going to raise your profile further. Because, I mean, we've seen you around Wolverhampton performing gigs. I mean, that's standard you up and down the country doing work. So, anything in our local area in the not-too-distant future?
Not at the moment, but fingers crossed, I'll be up that way sort of soon. At the moment, it's still quite local, I guess because of lockdown and stuff, but hopefully we'll spread our wings soon.
Yeah, fingers crossed. As we get a little easier, there'll be more taking place. Well, it'd be great to see you back in our neck of the woods. Meanwhile, give us all the details on where people can go to not only talk to your management team to get you booked to turn up to an event, but also to pick up the single, which is going to be a track which is going to mean a lot to a lot of people. Yeah,
definitely. So the track's out on Friday. And you can download it on iTunes, Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Music, basically pretty much anywhere. You can also follow me at Duane AJ Music on Facebook, Instagram and YouTube. So make sure you subscribe and like all the pages.
Well, it's going to be great to have you releasing more music out there. And you've got a collaboration which is coming up soon as well, haven't you?
I've got two. So I've got one with Kyle, which we spoke about last time. The one with Kyle is more sort of a digital release rather than a live thing.
Yeah.
So me and Kyle, we've already released a single, Leaving Me Out, which you can download now. And that's all about being left out and not invited and not included, and basically people that are not included into things. A bit of bullying, I guess. And we're releasing an album later on in the year. So that will probably be out before my original album. Whereas me and Kyle are doing it's like a covers album with a few original tracks on there. And I'm also working in a duology with a female vocalist called Becky Chu. And we're currently out touring all the holiday parks. So that's what we're up to at the moment with our new show.
Well, that sounds absolutely awesome as well. We expect a full list of holiday parks on your website so we can nip along and see it, one of those. That'd be good stuff if we're heading out about for a bit of a UK-based holiday this year. But for now, Duane AJ, thank you for joining us, and we'll have a sneak preview of your track. Okay.
Thank you very much for having me.
Because I'm feeling strong and I want you to know that I am gonna cry over you. Let's leave it be, just you and me. The only time I got these feelings for you. Set me free, you don't need me. The only time I'm gonna cry over you. Let's leave it be, just you and me. The only time I got these feelings, yeah, time I got these feelings for you. Set me free, you don't need me. The only time I'm gonna cry over you. Let's leave it be, just you and me. The only time I got these feelings for you. Set me free, you don't need me. The only time I'm gonna cry over you. Let's leave it be, just you and me. The only time I got these feelings, yeah. Set me free. You don't need me. The only time I'm gonna cry over you. Let's leave it be, just you and me. The only time I got these feelings for you. Set me free. You don't need me. The only time I'm gonna cry over you. Let's leave it be, just you and me. The only time I got these feelings, yeah, time I got these feelings for you.
Alarum Productions have a little walk for you down Dudley Canal number 2. Heather Wastie is with us now to tell us a bit more about this now it has come to fruition. Hello.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm all right. I've just come back from holiday, so I've got a holiday brain, but I'm fine. We had a lovely time in the sunshine. So.
Well, that's this. I mean, it all helps. But if you want to enjoy a bit of a sunny walk down the side of the canal and have an audio guide to tell you what's going on, this is the place to be, isn't it?
Well, I think so, yes. It's an audio guide with a difference. It's a 2.5 mile stretch from Windmill End Junction, which is a wonderful name, to Coombs Wood, which is another wonderful name.
Mm-hmm. Now, last time we spoke, you were putting out a call for people who had got some specific memories of that particular path of canal that they were able to share. And I know you've had a good response to that. And equally, it's allowed it to be a real social history at the same time as being something to take in the visuals that you get there too.
Yeah, we wanted to combine different people's memories. So we've got interviews included in the audio track. There's some of the women that we interviewed for the I Dig Canals project. So women who were involved when was campaigning to go on to going on to save the canals in the 60s and 70s. Mm-hmm. We've also got interviews with a group of men who I spoke to on Zoom. They're from Coombs Wood Canal Trust, and they are positioned at the end of this route, although you can't quite get to them because there's a fence in the way. But they've got a little enclave which is called Horn Basin, which they restored as a group, and it was really interesting talking to them. So I've included interviews with them. There's also extracts from a fascinating book about a journey along that stretch in the 1950s. And if you've ever walked along Dudley number 2, you will bound to have come across a statue information board by Luke Perry. They're black and white. They're always interesting images, mm-hmm. and they tell you information about where you're standing. Yeah. So someone has actually sort of played the part of the Luke Perry statues and reads out what's on them so that we can kind of position ourselves in terms of the statues, the memories, and the bridges are very important. So that each bridge has got a little musical motif.
So you get to know your way around the area as you're heading through too. And I like that idea of each bridge having a personality, because each effectively has a tale to tell. I mean, you talked about the 1950s there, and the 1950s into the 60s is when these things went into decline. They stopped being the transport backbone as the road network across the UK got bigger and better. Motorways were sort of starting to appear, and it had easily been planned by that point. So the world was changing, and the canal, which had been our main form of getting goods from one end of the country to another and then out to sea, it was suddenly stopped being as important, and they've now turned into a huge leisure industry. But the gap in the middle nearly killed them off.
Yeah, that's right. The 1960s were a crucial time. Barbara Castle's 1968 Transport Act, excuse me, was crucial to the saving of the canals. But one thing that did happen with this particular stretch was that a Netherton Tunnel was built, and that had a huge impact. Netherton Tunnel is a massive tunnel with a towpath on each side, and we've had lots of people tell stories about walking or cycling through there, or boating through there, obviously. Mm-hmm. And when that was built, it sort of cut off the bit that we did the audio trail about. So it eventually ended up as a dead end because A, it was no longer a through route, and B, there was lots of subsidence, there was lots of mining around that area, and subsidence caused the collapse of Lappel Tunnel, which if you could get through Lappel Tunnel, you'd come out of Sellyoak, but that's been closed a long time. So it means that you can only go out and back on that stretch.
But equally, when it is like that, though, that makes it a haven for wildlife even more so than a working part of the canal, as it were. I know that it's all teeming with life, as life always finds a way. But it must be great to be able to see it in a static state, and the fact that all sorts of creatures will be making it home.
Yeah, well, I should say that this we were able to do this project because we were commissioned by Creative Black Country. Mm-hmm. They provided the funding, and we were able to pay for a sound designer. And so we got in touch with Frankie Fox, who works. She has a partnership with Ricardo Rocha, and they have a team called Fox and Rocha. And we worked mainly with Sam. And we walked along the length, and she got her recorder, and she said, right, I want to record some water sound. There is no water sound because it's not moving. There's no locks. Mm-hmm. There just wasn't, until a Canada goose landed in the water. So, and then when we got to the tunnel, the one end you could hear drips, the other you couldn't. Wastie Hill Tunnel, unlike Netherton Tunnel, has no towpath, so you can't walk through. So we peered in at each end, and Sam stuck a recording device in and got what she could of the acoustic, and we sang into the tunnel mouth. But we really needed to go in. And so a lovely man called John, who's from Coomswood Canal Trust, said, well, I'll take you in on my boat. So we socially distanced. He was at the back steering, we were at the front, standing as far apart as we could with our masks on, and we went into the tunnel and recorded a song in there, and that was absolutely amazing. The acoustic in there is fabulous.
I can imagine, and we don't have to, though. We can hear it. It is all part of this production, and this is something which is free to download, and people can actually take with them, and you can live a number of times. I think that's the exciting part of it, is you may not see everything that you're talking about first time through, because there is so much to see down there.
Yeah, it's a longer podcast than I thought it was going to be, because there was so much to tell. And yes, it's packed with information and sounds and memories. And so I think it's definitely a sort of piece to listen to more than once. And you can listen to it away from the canal and imagine what it's like, but it will have a totally new meaning if you walk along it. It's actually on SoundCloud, Alarum Productions SoundCloud account. And it's called the Netherton Cut to Coomswood. It's right at the top of the, when you add a new track, it always comes to the top. So It's right up there. We've had lots of listens, actually, lots of plays.
I should think so, because I mean, it's anything to do with the canal network and water. I mean, we love across the UK. That's why it's been so important to have these for leisure now, and just to walk down the side of the canal is such a refreshing, relaxing way of doing it. Even when it's going through an industrial area, because you get such amazing architecture there that really you can see the history, and now you can hear it as well. Give us all the details, including the spelling on Alarum.
I think the best way to find it at the moment is to go on SoundCloud, which is. If you just Google SoundCloud, it'll come up, and then we are called Alarum, Alarum Productions.
Well, Heather Wastie from Alarum Productions, thank you for joining us. Thank you for this piece of work, and we look forward to your next foray into either the world of sound, vision, or theatre, because there's always something going on.
Oh yes, thank you very much, Jason.
As we adapt back into normality across the UK, we are sort of holding on to that neighbourly love we've experienced during lockdown. To tell us more, I'm joined now by Briony. Hello.
Hello, how are you doing?
I'm good. Now, I hope we find you well, and I hope that you are told of holding on to the sort of neighbourly love that during the Great British Bake Off, all the contestants have for each other when they're just adjoining benches and stuff, because it is sort of a neighbourly environment, isn't it, that?
It is definitely, yeah, the Bake Off. It's very, even though it's a competition, it's everyone wants to support each other and no one wants anyone else to do badly. You're all there trying to help each other out, finish their bakes, and definitely a very neighbourly community feel in there.
But with this survey, obviously, it's a little more difficult sometimes when it is the neighbours who sometimes leave grass cuttings in the corner or have other parties and stuff and upset you. So what's going on here?
Yeah, I know it is tricky. And I think, in modern times, we're not used to chatting with our neighbours or getting to know our neighbours particularly well. But this survey that the Big Lunch have done has shown that 12 million people now actually feel closer to their neighbours than they did before the pandemic, which is a huge, huge amount. And people are saying they just care more about what's going on in their local community. They want to shop locally. They want to cook from scratch and eat together as a family. I think something that the pandemic has done is brought us closer together with our families, but also with the people around us, whether it's, we've gone out to do some shopping for an elderly neighbour or just popped our head over the fence to check that people are okay. I think it's definitely something positive that's come out of a lot of negative this year.
Absolutely. And at the start of things back last year, things like flour sold out completely because the likes of you were inspiring us to go and bake pretty much anything and everything.
It's true. Something that this survey has actually revealed is that a fifth of the population are now regular bakers. So since lockdown. So there you go. It's not just me.
I know. I'm still blaming you. So many people have been inspiration when these things have been on telly. And you have been able to see a previous series of Bake Off that inspired you to get into it, I'm sure. What else has it sort of inspired you when it came to that sort of thing?
Well, my nan was a home economist, so she used to teach baking and cooking in her younger years. And so we'd bake together when we were younger, and she's one of those people who just knew all the recipes off by heart, and it was just a lovely, warm, fun thing to do with family. And I now bake with my 5-year-old. Just feels like it's kind of passing down from generation to generation.
And it's that sort of thing that is, again, the kind of ethos behind the Eden Project's Big Lunch, isn't it? It is about coming together, about sharing, and whether it is sharing baking within the family. And then we see kids sending stuff to school for bake sales and the like. So, it is all about enjoying the produce and not eating it all yourself, but sharing a little bit.
Absolutely. It's doing sharing food, sharing conversation, encouraging, intergenerational mixing. So you've got older neighbours coming together with younger neighbours. It's a real sort of way to build that community spirit, and food is always a wonderful way to do that.
It's where you can stop arguments for starters. You can't appreciate it much when you've got a gob full of cake, can you?
So true.
But I mean, with the Big Lunch, I mean, that again, it's an inspiration to many, isn't it?
It is, absolutely. And it's just a lovely way. They call it the annual celebration of neighbours, and I think that's a really lovely way of looking at it. And normally it's just a day, but this year it's going to be a month-long celebration of neighbours to make sure everyone can get involved and do it safely. We're not encouraging big street parties, obviously. We want people to get together in smaller Big Lunches, whether it's in the garden garden safely at distance with neighbours, or over the fence, on the doorstep, in a park, on separate picnic blankets. And yeah, it's just a way, you know, that you can get together, connect and catch up with your neighbours. You know, whether you've, you know, made the same recipe and you can compare notes, or, you know, however you want to do it, bake something delicious and share it, as long as it's safe. And yeah, there's no excuse this year, because we've got a whole month to get involved.
Sounds good to me. So is it the whole month of?
The whole month of June. So starting from Saturday is the big launch of the Big Lunch. And if you want any information, if you head to thebiglunch.com, all the information's on there, and there's loads of lovely recipes on there as well.
Okay, talking of lovely recipes, I want a 30-second Briony sort of recipe to throw at us now as a bit of a starter when it comes to stripping our big lunch pack together.
Oh gosh, I think always, if you're starting, start with a banana bread. So some mushed up bananas. I always chuck Nutella in mine, or chocolate spread, a couple of eggs, bit of flour, bit of self-raising flour. Mix it all up, shove it in a loaf tin, and 45 minutes later, yummy, yummy banana bread.
And that's the fastest recipe I think I've ever heard. And that does the job. Briony May Williams, semi-finalist from the Bake Off. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Axiom have an amazing sound, and it's one that I know you'll enjoy. You can enjoy it anywhere. That is the exciting thing about their music. To tell us more, I'm joined now by Phil and Peter Templar. Hello to you both.
Hello to you, and thanks for spinning our tunes. We really appreciate that.
Well, no, much appreciated. And Pete, you're the oldest of the two, so explain about the band.
It's all about instrumental, and well, not actually always instrumental, because we had some vocal music on our very first CD, but for the most part, it's been instrumental, original compositions, incorporating inspirations from a wide variety of influences that we've had over the years. Rock, Latin, jazz, funk, and you can hear that throughout the CD, Stardust. And so it incorporates a lot of genres. So we kind of tend to be difficult to peg into a particular genre like contemporary jazz or prog rock, although we incorporate a lot of those things throughout the tracks on our CD.
Well, I would certainly say you fall into an exceptionally listenable category, because I couldn't place it either, but it is just so easy on the ears, but still draws you in. And I think when it comes to instrumental music, it is very often something which is sort of gone by the wayside in many ways. And if anything, jazz is one of those areas which has allowed it to continue to thrive, but in the back streets, as it were. It's not quite in the fore. Very rarely do we see in the top of any of the charts, either your side or my side of the Atlantic, an instrumental song.
Unfortunately true. Hopefully there'll be a bit of a resurgence, and maybe we're going to help lead the way back. But yeah, it is kind of unfortunate that some of the instrumental music is taken a back seat, if you will. It wasn't always that way, of course. And so may let it return.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I mean, in classical music was the thing. There was a lot more of that about than there was maybe the likes of the operas at the time, and classical was a thing. I'm trying to think back. Axel F was probably the last fully instrumental track I remember doing particularly well in the charts. But it is a part of our world, particularly when we're watching music, we're watching drama and TV. The instrumental tracks that run alongside that are there and bring emotion. And your work does this on its own without having to have some telly pictures in front of it. So I quite like that. So Phil, I mean, when you're working on inspiration, Pete's talked about having the story behind the tracks, but how do you build it up?
We like to have, I guess we kind of think of it a little bit as thematic in a way. I mean, we've kind of constructed the album hopefully to kind of listen through, rather than just picking a song. Certainly can do that, but we've tried to add a bit of a theme to it. Not that it was any kind of formula or anything like that, but and the tunes were created in many different ways. A lot of them are Pete and myself jamming and collaborating on it. And then when we bring in the artists, we don't just dictate what we expect of them. We really like to collaborate and have them their input as well.
So Peter, the whole Axiom sound is built with a number of different people coming together. How do you choose them, or do you let them choose you?
Well, the current unit that we have with Bill Owens on bass, Jared Stewart on keyboards, and Frank Villafranca on saxes, all the saxes and flute, came together in 2015. We've worked with many other artists, some that are represented on the Starburst CD, various bass players and sax player Alan Palmer, but we've been performing and recording currently with the present lineup as you hear on the CD and a lot of the cuts. Now we've put together these tracks over the course of quite a number of years, so that's why they're involving a lot of these other bass players and another saxophone player, but they've all come together to collaborate with us on these tracks to contribute their contribution to the song. So although I'll write out the parts for them to play for melodies and such like that, there's many instances where I don't dictate exactly what I want to hear them play. I'll give suggestions and they'll contribute what they think is going to work with the song, and it comes together as what you hear on the CD.
And what you hear is something which is equally at home listening to in the car, as just a piece of music to chill out to at home. But I hate to say this, it would make fantastic backing track for a dinner party as well. And I think I like music that is that versatile, and hopefully you're not offended by that.
Oh, no, not at all. I mean, we like to think of it as being very dynamic as well. But, we like to say hopefully can take you to a lot of different places.
When we were creating the final version of this project last year, we would take it to various instances.
Different time of environment.
Go ahead, Phil.
So it took a lot of different, a lot of pieces to the puzzle to put together. That's
right.
So with your background in music, I mean, what has brought you to this point? Because this isn't your first foray into the world of recording, is it?
No, we'd Pete and I had done a lot of different things, and for many years we really weren't collaborating, and then we came up to California, and the first rendition of Axiom was similar sound to first two albums basically, but then we took a bit of a hiatus. I guess to some degree we went off and did some different things, but the progressive music scene at that time, we kind of bit disillusioned with it, I guess. We talked about the instrumental music and such, and we kind of got disillusioned with where the scene was going, where it's at.
Mm-hmm.
But yet at the same time, we were, doing other things, but still creating these songs. And it was building up to the point where it was, we've got all this material. What possibly can get the band back together or record? And it all kind of came together. We got these other players involved and such, and been doing quite a bit of shows in Southern California. So it all kind of came together after a bit of a hiatus.
We've got this album, we've got it creating waves across the music industry, and this is a push to get it better known in the UK so it matches what you've got over there in the US. And I think it'll be great to get you, because you can tour with this as well, which is the thing. And I think that's something which is often more difficult for a lot of bands who rely on a fantastic studio sound, but you can do this with your team on stage.
That's right. In fact, that's what we've been doing mostly, was performing, in the U.S. and the West Coast for the most part. That's right. And so it was only recently we decided to really, and I was telling so many people, as bad as the pandemic has been, the one silver lining, so to speak, for us musically, was to really get these tracks finished, mastered, mixed, the whole bit. So obviously it was, nobody's performing, so let's get down to business and finish this thing, and we did. So that but we have been performing a lot with this unit. So yes, indeed, it's something that we're very anxious to take on the road, so to speak.
We've had some really great performances with Larry Carlton, who we've all respected for years and years as a legendary guitarist in the contemporary jazz scene, and Pancho Sanchez, a legend in the contemporary Latin jazz scene, Hiroshima, and even from Britain, the Brand X.
Brand X, yeah. We had a good. That's a couple of shows with Brand X actually, and Uriah Heep as well. So it's been interesting.
Well, so that interest will continue. First of all, I'll let Phil give us the details on where we can find out more information.
First thing would be, I guess, our website, axiomjazz.com, as well as our Facebook. We haven't got a Twitter feed going. I guess we've got to work on that. But certainly Facebook, Axiom or Axiom Jazz on Facebook. Best place to find out about us.
Okay, and Pete, as the senior brother in the band, what is the track you want us to play now?
If you want something with a bit more of a progressive rock approach, well, we've been getting a lot of airplay with the prog rock, if you will, track on the CD called West Coast Encounters. It's part of the California suite that we have in the CD, which kind of encompasses the topography of California, if you will. There's one called Deserts, this West Coast Encounters, there's Kings Canyon. So there's like 3 or 4 tracks in that suite that relate to California as we come to really love it here. That we've been here since, late.
So West Coast Encounter.
The West Coast Encounters.
For now, Phil and Pete Templar, thank you both for joining us.
Oh, thanks so much for having us, Jason. We really appreciate it.
We seem to be constantly bombarded with scams these days. Spotting the real texts from the fake ones can be tricky, and it's the under 35s who seem to be falling foul. Somebody who's got under 35s in the family, but has equally been under the same level of pressure as we have, is Martin Kemp, who joins me now to tell me more about the recent research. Hello, sir.
How are you? You okay?
I'm good, and I hope we're finding you well, and hopefully you haven't been caught out by some of these scammers.
Well, nearly. I think we all do, nearly. You know, a friend of mine recently was scammed out of £70,000, which is an awful amount of money. And she was intelligent, well-read, you know, she knew what she was talking about, and a professional woman. She lost £70,000 from a couple of clicks on the internet. Firstly, it came from an email she clicks on, then it led to a website, and before she knew it, she put all her details into the website. And it was a scam that other people have been scammed at as well. And I think what the problem is here, what we're facing, is that people are finding it embarrassing to be scammed and don't want to talk about it and don't want to admit to it. And I think that's the worst thing that we can do. You know, if you're scammed, let everybody know, because that will save other people.
Yeah,
you know,
it is so easy to be caught out. I mean, these things do look genuine. I get emails through and texts through. One recently has been through from HSBC Bank, and it looks completely convincing, apart from the fact I don't bank with them. So I'm lucky. I know it's not for me.
The banks, I had one recently, HMRC, right? Which HMRC led me to a website which looked absolutely so real you can't imagine. But it was asking me to put in my details. So alarm bells rang, and I called my accountant, and he said, no, stay away from it, it's a scam. But it's so easy. And, you know, earlier on you said, is it just younger people being scammed? It's not, it's older people, it's everyone. It's just, and older people sometimes do have a few more quid in their bank than the young guys. And so they are the ones being scammed out of lots of money. But it's happening to everyone. Young guys, like my kids, they all they do is they scroll through all the small print because they're looking at it on their phone, and they look to where it says click here, sign here, you know, and that's a problem. But that's why I'm here, because Visa have asked me to team up with them, and they have started a scheme called How You Pay Matters. And it's wonderful, to be honest, because it just tells you, it gives you some security in the fact that if you go online and you buy stuff, which we've all been doing more of during the pandemic, right? Then you have a security net, and they say that it's called Visa Zero Liability Policy, and you will not be left out of pocket if you're scammed.
So it is one of the concerns to say, if we do get caught out through, I mean, no real fault of our own, these things do look convincing. You know, there is that cover there. So if you're using your Visa debit card or credit card, this protection kicks in?
That's right, debit or credit card. But also, you know, it's not just about that. It's about getting to people to start talking about it and not be embarrassed about it if you have been ripped off and scammed, because there's nothing to be embarrassed about, because they are so realistic, and it just takes a little drop in concentration when you're on the internet for it to happen to you.
And this is so much different. I mean, the days when you were out on the road, I mean, in both of our youths, to be fair, we weren't subject to this sort of stuff, were we? You weren't under threat in that way. There were different people trying to scam you, and I'm sure you had loads of people trying to take advantage, but it wasn't in this sort of, in a way in which you already feel confident about, because you're using text and email all the time. You think you can trust it, but when it's some dodgy bloke trying to get your cash off you after a gig, it's a bit different, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. In those days, you know, it was kind of easier to suss out. But nowadays, it's so well hidden. And the scammers are inventing new ways to do it all the time. So we report the scams that are going on, and then they'll just move on to a new one. So the only weapon we have is to stay up to date on what scams are going around. And how you do that is by telling each other and talking to each other.
Yeah, have that conversation, and make sure it's friends, family. If you see something come through that sounds like a scam to you, tell them. If you're at work, click the phishing button on your work computer. Don't get caught out that way. But if you see something, you can report it, can't you?
Absolutely, yeah. There's websites out there that you go to and you report your scam, and they will log them, and it just makes it easier. It makes life easier for everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Action Fraud website, the National Cyber Security Centre, if you can forward fraudulent emails to them, and you can also alert citizens' advice via their scam action service. If you do a bit of Googling on all of those, make sure you're on the real sites. You can then find out how to report these scams. But equally, as you already mentioned, Visa have got a great deal of help with this. So where do we find out more?
Yeah, you go to How You Pay Matters website. It's run by Visa.
So look at Visa's zero liability policy on there, and you can help protect yourself when you're using your Visa card. And also, as you say, talk about it, make sure you know. And so is it Roman you have to keep in check mostly when it comes to these things, or is he fairly good at this stuff?
No, Roman's fairly good at it. I have to keep myself in check, but we're all as bad. We're all as bad because we've got used to spending so much money on the internet during lockdown.
Mm-hmm.
We all do it. I wasn't sure at the end if I was just buying stuff so that I could have the parcel delivered.
Just so you could see someone.
Yeah, it's parcel. Honestly, so it became like that. And obviously, the more we spend, the more scammers are out there that are looking to take advantage of that.
Well, I'd say there are ways and means of reporting it to make sure that others don't get caught. Talk about it and look for Visa's zero liability policy too, to see how you can avoid being out of pocket if it does happen to you. But for now, Martin Kemp, Spandau Ballet star, actor, and it's a celebrity. There's not much you haven't been on recently, is there? So thank you for joining us and making time for us.
Oh, thank you for having me. All right. Speak to you soon.
As somebody who is one of the busiest men I know is running around left, right and centre, even as we speak. Well, not quite as we speak. We've managed to sit him down for a little while. But he has got so much happening, not only with his record label, but and all the bands he looks after too. It's James Morris. Hello, sir. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. How are you, Jason? You all right?
I'm good, thank you. So what is going on? Because obviously the records have kept coming from all sorts of fantastic artists, but you haven't been able to sell them in physical real life for a while. But that's back now, and that must be something to look forward to and enjoy.
It is. It's exciting times again now because obviously with the lockdown, the music industry has been one of the worst hit out there. So yeah, it's good to sort of start getting things back up and running. But we are currently just going through a slight change now as a record label. So from our side, we've had a bigger company come in, had a look at what we were doing, wanted to get involved and help us out a bit as well, and knowing the times we're currently going through. And yeah, so basically what we're doing, we're going through a slight restructure through the label, and with this company behind us now, it's going to take us on to the next level, basically.
Well, Story Moon have been representing some fantastic artists and bringing some brilliant music to people's ears, as well as this, of course, the live side of things too, which, I mean, you've put so much work into helping to coordinate. And when it comes to bands trying to progress, they really often need that little bit of help. And with your experience, you've been able to make a massive difference, haven't you?
Yeah, I think just having someone who can offer that bit of advice on the side where, and allow the artist and the bands to just concentrate on their music with someone else there just on the side, just to say, look, go down this path, take it down this path, and not so much changing their music, but just where they want to go and how to get it to the right people. And that's where we can come in and help out and take a lot of pressure off the bands.
Yeah, helping to direct the creativity, because they're often they've got this idea, and as fantastic as they may be, unless it's all pulled together into one package, it doesn't necessarily work for them. So I mean, it sounds like I'm doing a sales pitch for bands who want to get in touch with you, because I mean that's certainly something that you will always try and help a band out, won't you?
Yeah, I think that the idea at the moment is the company that we've that are currently signed up to help us out now. They've helped the likes of Ed Sheeran, Stormzy. So to have those sort of people involved with us now is huge. And what we're looking to do now is take a step back, not rush things now, just relaunch the label. So it'll still be Strawberry Moon. We'll relaunch it, and we want to look go out there and look for the next big thing, basically. Ideally, it'd be someone that's young, that's not released before, and that we can help from the start and watch it grow. But at the same time, if we see someone good enough that's released but we feel could do with our push, then again, if they're good enough, we'll want to get involved.
Yeah, because you're scouting at gigs and the like very often, and I mean, you've worked with some of the brilliant names on the Midlands music scene already, who already deserve to go further, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean, we was lucky enough we still managed to release a single during lockdown with Ryan Evans. So he's an artist that, for example, when he first took on his solo projects, and we wasn't involved, he was getting 500 streams on a release. We've took it up to over 30,000 streams just through the Spotify. So that, as you can see, that's a massive difference. Unfortunately, on that side, with streams, just so artists and bands are clear, you know, you're not going to make a lot of money from streams, but you can already see from 500 to 30,000, that's a big jump, and that's for our guidance. The next stage for us, that was putting it all together. So finding the artist that basically you've got a gig. That's the first and foremost, and that's what's been took away from a lot of the bands and the artists. You're not gigging, you can't promote your product. So it's no good releasing songs if you're not gigging.
Yeah, it is being able to go to a gig and physical CDs, the sales from those, and T-shirts. The merch is a massive part of it. And I know, again, Ryan's done a huge amount on merch, even during lockdown.
Exactly, yeah. And I think what you need to do, though, is you've got your releasing of your streams, you've got your releasing of your physical copies, you've got your merchandise, you've got your gigging, and you've got your promotion online through your social media. If one of those falls down, then you're going to struggle. So this is where we come in, and it's trying to mould that all together. And it's, you know, providing you've got bands and artists that are willing to work with you on all of that, and that's fine. You know, you're going to see a progression.
Yeah.
Like I said, through lockdown, it's a lot of that's been taken away. And what I've found is you've got a lot of artists they're eager to get their music out there. But if you're not gigging, you're not going to be able to.
You have to find new ways, and you have to have somebody who can guide you through that. And through your outlet as well, I mean, you've been able to help move units of people, and it's a chance to discover new music, and Strawberry Moon's always been that little focal point of new access. And I mean, Chris Westwood, we've worked with you in the past, and a load of others. And there are people who are already part of big name groups or have performed as session musicians for years, who equally come to you for assistance, guidance, and just that extra step, because they already know the importance of having somebody who's part of their management team.
Yeah, I think you've obviously met Ash Sheehan before, who's the drummer with Glenn Hughes from Deep Purple. He's part of his touring band. He's also a drummer with the Twang, but again, his solo show is something that's just phenomenal. So again, I'm looking forward to getting out there, helping Ash again, and just getting as a fan as well, being able to see these artists, because again, you just think through lockdown, someone like Ash Sheehan, who relies heavily on his touring side of things, that's been taken away. So again, for anyone, if you can go out and see anyone, then it'll be Ash Sheehan. I guarantee you, whether it's with the Twang, whether it's with Glenn Hughes, or with his solo show, get out there, because I guarantee you that's one person that's just going to blow you away. Yeah,
absolutely. When he came down and did a live set, absolutely phenomenal. Yeah. But I can't take anything away from any of the artists who you've given us to work with. I've just heard nothing but fantastic music, because you know who to pick, who to work with, and how you can develop them further. So what is happening then now? I mean, you're talking about having a major partner who've done some fantastic work with us in the past to bolster what you do already, and you're the feet on the ground who are going to be in the local area doing what is needed for these artists as they head out and about. So what's the structure, what do we do, and most importantly, where do we get music from your artists?
I think at the moment it is very much due to the pandemic and due to our restructuring, it's going to be very quiet from Strawberry Moon. So I just ask people to just hold tight, keep looking out for Strawberry Moon. Eventually you'll see us resurface, And then at the moment, you can get me on social media, James Morris, if you just search me through Facebook or just the links with Strawberry Moon. We're on hand to offer advice where we can. But once we are ready to launch, look out for the name Strawberry Moon. You'll see what we're doing. And it is very much with the people we've got on hand. They'll be advising us, keeping us on the right tracks where they want us to go. But they're very much letting us free rein of come to them and say, look, we've got this artist. We think these can do something, and together we can push it further through that.
Yeah, they are basically just going to take it from your national level and potentially push it international, aren't they? I think that's the key here. Yeah,
exactly. And like I said, when you mentioned some of the names I mentioned earlier, then with the likes of the Help, Kick Off, Stormzy, Ed Sheeran, just to name a few.
Mm-hmm.
You can't get much bigger than that. So to have someone who's been around that sort of size, then it can only go one way for us. So I think, it's just exciting times really, but it is all about, we're itching to go at the moment, but the people who are helping us to just get it right. We've got to completely restructure, get it right on the social media side of things. They're happy with what we're doing, fan-wise, artists when we're picking them. And they're going to work with us along that side.
Well, so it's going to be absolutely awesome. And it's a case of looking out on social media for Strawberry Moon Records. Follow the page now, and you'll be there when the next big thing happens, because you are responsible for that next big thing. We know that.
One thing I've been doing as well is I'm obviously a DJ as well. So I go around the country, and that's another thing that's been stopped due to the pandemic. I've recently started back up. I'm doing a residency at the Falcon Hotel, Bridge North, St John Street. I'm there every other week. I'm next there on the 18th of June and the 19th of June. So if you want to come and meet me there as well, you can have a chat, any bands, any solo artists, or if you're just looking to get out, have a good night, listen to some good music, then come and check me out there as well.
You know how to choose your music, so I think that's going to work absolutely brilliantly. It's going to be fantastic. What are your socials then for that one?
If you just go on the Falcon Hotel, you'll be able to see all the stuff that's going on there. So that's obviously their social media side of things on there, but you'll be able to see what's going on. I do have another resident DJ every other week when I'm not there, but as I said, I'm back there on the 18th and 19th of June.
James Morris, Superstar DJ, and everything else. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much. Cheers, Jason.
The LGBT plus Sparkle talk this Thursday centres around domestic abuse. To tell us more about their speaker, who for anonymity reasons is not able to join us today, is Paul Ryder. Hello, sir.
Hello.
So obviously it's a harrowing topic of discussion this week, but one which needs to be talked about. We can't let this sort of thing go not only unaided but also unreported, because we need to make sure that across all communities domestic abuse just does not happen.
Definitely. Like I said, domestic abuse can happen in any relationship, rather that if that's a heterosexual relationship, or if you're LGBT, or you're from the BAME community. But I've noticed in the LGBT community it's not spoke about enough. And there's obviously this individual, which I can't name for legal reasons, this person actually wanted to talk about his story of being a survivor of domestic abuse 2 years ago. He was a survivor. He left that relationship.
We know that the Haven are helping women across the city, whether they're from same-sex or opposite-sex relationships, and they have the ability to be able to move women to a safe place, hence the refuge. But when it comes to men, there are other organisations which are helping there, and it can be even more difficult when it's within a homosexual relationship to be able to say something and speak out.
It must have took them a lot of courage to talk about this. It's personal to them, and I thought it was great just to connect with them, and obviously to highlight the fact that it happens in the LGBT community as well.
Yeah, I mean, it is something that across the board needs to be talked about and stopped. And when it comes down to these conversations that you have each Thursday, this has got to be one of those which is going to be the hardest for everybody to listen to in particular, because it is such a personal story, and it does mean that they have had to go through a hell of a lot to get out, because once you're locked into something like this, the abuse is not only physical, it could be emotional, it can be tracking what people are doing on their phones, and as much as it might seem harmless just seeing what text messages somebody's had, actually that can be a form of abuse if you're checking up on them to the point at which they cannot live a life parallel to yours.
True, definitely. I totally agree with everything that you're saying. There's different factors of domestic abuse, and like one of the ones that you picked up on was converse control. I don't know if I pronounced that right. I can never seem to get that word out right, to be honest. But I think I know what I'm getting at.
Yeah, coercive control is one of those things which it can take over and cause mental pressures on top of everything else that's going on. And somebody doesn't have to be hit to have been abused. And it's awful that if either of those two things happen, but it is time to get out of that relationship. But again, that in itself, whether it be the financial situation you find yourself in because of it and the control that may be over your financial position, it doesn't make it easy. And when you have this conversation on Thursday, again, I know you are regularly signposting people. And have you got groups who can help in these cases?
We have got some professionals around mental health and stuff, obviously, because it would have affected them like emotionally. So we have got some professionals around that. Then we'll probably get other professionals from there to signpost them up to other relevant services as well.
Mm-hmm. But it's one of those things that you'll make available through your group Facebook page, so that people have got the ability to be able to just click on there with anonymity and be able to find out what they can do to help themselves out of a situation they may be in. I mean, we don't know numbers for this, so we can't even guess how many may be in that position across the city. But if any one person is, hopefully you can help them.
It's very hard to reach out to, whether you're LGBT or not, to reach out to people to talk about being a survivor of domestic abuse. I know it's very, very tricky to reach out to the BAME community, that they might have gone through it because of the culture that they're from, the background, and it's very hard to reach out to them or most communities. But when you do get people wanting to talk about it and highlighting that it does happen, it's great, because not great for them, what they've been through, but it's great to highlight it. Yeah, that it does happen still.
And good for the fact that they've got through it and they're able to come out and have these conversations now. So that is certainly a positive, isn't it? That they have removed themselves from a toxic situation. And when this talk takes place on Thursday, you can be safe in the knowledge that you may well be helping somebody who hasn't been able to speak out or pick up on this before. So where can people go for more information about joining the group and being part of the meeting?
You can find out on our socials. You can find us on Instagram, LGBT Sparkle. You can find us on Twitter at LGBT Sparkle, and you can find us on Facebook, LGBT plus Sparkle Social Group Wolverhampton.
So all of those details there. And obviously Pride Month at the moment, and I'm sure you're marking that as well.
Yes, definitely. Of course I am.
What have you got going on? But apart from the new poster behind you with, what's the name of your unicorn? Is it Felicia?
Yeah, Felicia.
There's a Felicia, the actual unicorn, and the flag. They're demonstrating her in full flight. So plenty going on there.
Not a lot, to be honest, but I'm just marking it by sharing it on like Facebook. Going, it's Pride Month, trying to show my little things in small ways, if that makes sense to you.
Yeah. So the group will be acknowledging that, and again there'll be further talks and conversations surrounding that as we head through the rest of the month. For now, Paul, thank you for joining us as ever, and we look forward to speaking again soon. The next opportunity when you're going to speak and join the group.
You're welcome, Jason. It's always a pleasure to talk to you.
Well, that's all for this week. Thank you so much for joining me back with episode 625 next week. I'll see you then. Ta-ra for now.
Goodbye from the milk bar. 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 Yeah. Goodbye from the milk bar. Yeah.